Okay, so let's see if we can quickly cut off the section of this shelving. Got a piece of stock lamb. Oh, come on, come on. Build something 1 inch and 3/4 too small. Right, so we'll have to do this one way. Now, as you can see, this project sort of off the bat went completely down the wrong lane. Tried to cut this. This is actually the second cut. You can see how I messed up the first cut, so the second cut I'm going to try and go freehand. Left a bit of space just for the saw to run on. Cheap little budget end saw, but it works fairly decent. And at this stage everything was still going pretty much according to plan. The blade doesn't line up with the marking in the front edge, so it does not, and I couldn't remember which side of the line I must cut on. Now over here I just had to stop and say this is good enough, because it was fairly straight, although not on the line. Then I tried to fix it. Now, and right about there it went to shit. So, okay, right, and then I said, okay, right, now I'm gonna fix this, No, you're not, idiot. Just stop what you're doing and do it over again. So this is now gonna be the third or the fourth cut that I do on it, redo from start. So I think this is probably why handmade stuff, you'll never make a boatload of money out of it. The time spent just not worth it. But this one is for one of those projects that need to get done before the end of the year, with Christmas and everything approaching. The wife needs a little shelf next to the stove. She's been renovating and repainting and whatever, so the shelf needs to go up. Right, take number 3. Here we go. I decided I'm going to do it by hand again. I don't have a straight edge for this thing. That's probably a project that we'll do in the future. So over here it's still, I think this is about as good as it's going to get. But I told myself, if it's not straight now, I don't know what I'm going to do. So we just did a bit of concentration and went for it. And here we go. Didn't come out too bad. Right, now after this one we need to cut the other end to length. The piece of stock lamb shelving was way too long. So I had to cut it almost in half, I'd say. I think it was sort of in half. Now this cut needs to be fairly straight as well, but it is what it is. It came out fairly good though. Just checking the squareness of the lines that I've drawn, and it was off by a mile. I don't know why, can't tell you. So what I did was I got out my big, what do you call this? Builder square, carpenter square. You tell me in the comments below. Can't remember. But I took out my big square and this is how far I went down the line. So I don't know what happened there. I'll go and check and have a look. Maybe look back on it. But nonetheless I picked it up before it was too late. So kudos to that one. Always check for squareness, guys. Always check for squareness. And now we're trying to keep it to the line again. As you can see, I'm trying to keep that left-hand pencil line sort of on the edge, sticking through that little clamping portion there. Nonetheless, well, really good. I'm happy with the edge. Just some sanding and then we'll get to it. It came out a bit short, sort of on the wrong end of the line, but not that critical. Now this is the second reason why you will not win back your time on this. This is now a piece of board shelving that is absolutely a nightmare in terms of it wasn't flat, it wasn't straight, it wasn't smooth, so I had to do everything. As you can see there, I'm putting little pieces of wood underneath. If you're working on a steel table and you're working with wood on a steel table like I am, always put some wood underneath. If there's any little nick on there, it tends to press into the wood and ruin your finish. So at this stage I'm just doing a initial sanding just to see what's underneath and what needs to be done on this. All of the knots in this pine basically had holes in them. Now this is how do they call it these days? Ethically sourced wood. So this is normal South African pine that they grow in plantations and replace and everything. So this is ethically sourced, what they call it, I think. And just patched up all the holes. It's a fast growing pine, so that's why you get all the knots in it. Fast growing and fairly cheap. It's probably the cheapest wood you can buy in South Africa. Right, so now that everything's filled in, we just sand off the excess and get it a little bit smoother. I will be painting this. I'm not a fan of painting wood, but this pine I do not give two blinks about. So no problem, we will be painting it. The wife wants it painted in any case. If we leave it pine, it'll fit with nothing in the kitchen. So now around about here, we had a chip out on a knot that was sitting right on the edge of the board as I cut it. So I said, okay, right, second kick at the cat, we're filling in that little chip out and trying to get that sort of flush and filled in. Then I said, you know what, now that we've got a heat gun, please look back at the previous videos, I'll put the link up in the corner. Let's see if we can dry out this wood filler faster. If we can get that to dry out faster. Now I know I'm probably wasting my time at this stage, but if you won't know until you know. So let's try it and see what happens. Dry it off fairly quickly. Now let's try and sand it again. There we go. Sort of still going fairly okay. Whoop. Alright. Now we know. Lesson learned. You cannot speed up the drying process on wood filler. So what I did, filled it up a second time. And now I have to let it dry. Now guys, remember this takes a shit below longer than what you see on the video, because every time you do something like this you have to now wait for the filler to dry off or the paint to dry or whatever. So it takes a fair bit of time. Right, now from here on it's just a quick little primer and paint. Starting off with normal wood primer. It's a deep penetrating primer. Luckily this stuff dries fairly quickly, so I don't know what you get in your country. If you're in South Africa, this is I think a Chamberlain's brand. Yep, Chamberlain's brand. Works fairly good. Makes it that you use a lot less paint once you're done priming. Otherwise the paint just soaks into the pine. One side, other side, same side, all sides. Apologies for the parrot screaming in the background. Quick little sand, just getting it flat again, and oh well, yeah, still sanding. And once we're done with that, this is the paint that the wife's using, South African brand. Not too bad, it's acrylic paint, water-based paint. And let's gun it and get this done on. This is going to take a couple of coats. I think I put in 2 or 3 on here. And as you can see, by using the primer first, the paint isn't soaked up into the wood. Okay, so this is the second coat going on. Doesn't come out too bad. Now the edge we are doing a different color. Now initially I hashed it up, and then I saw that if you painted from the one side to the other, well, from the middle of the edge to the edge of the edge, well, yeah, from the middle to the edge, you tend to get a fairly good bead on it without taping it up and so forth. There's just the 2 little brackets that I bought. It's a normal L-shaped brackets. Now apparently this paint, we'll see how it holds up, but apparently you can paint steel and anything with it, so let's try. First coat didn't come out too great, but nonetheless, once again, second coat on the edge. And a second coat on the brackets. Starting to look like something, but I think if I can remember correctly, I did 3 coats on the brackets. Yep, 3 coats on it. There were still some white spots shining through. And now we're patching where I did the dark paint and worked it over the edge. So we're just filling in all of that. I measured the brackets to fit them, if I can remember correctly, 8 inches from the side. So it just distributes the weight of on that's going to be on the shelf more evenly. And just quick little put it up, guys. Make sure that you use a level on it. When I get new guys to be interested in tools, that's probably one of the first tools that I give them. There's always a couple of levels in my shop, so I just take one and give it and replace it later on. Make sure that you've got to learn to put up stuff straight. I think that's part of what we need to get done into the young guys. Just setting the RAM sets on there, and that's basically it, guys. Thank you very much. I think I'm going to call it over here. If you make it thus far, please rate, comment, subscribe, and as always, stay safe.